Hey you. Yeah, you, the entity currently poking around in my mind, I have a question. I don't expect you to answer, but think about it, all right? So here it is. What is the theoretical maximum number of spell circles you can manage in one space? And what happens if you exceed that number? If you don't understand, that's fine. I'll explain it as it happened. I'm a student at this prestigious magical college, a huge place where everyone from every race can study so long as they have the finances. For the past 2 years, I've been studying magic circles, which is an old way of making spells. Everyone else just masters incantations and runecraft as if they're the be-all, end-all of combat magic. Well, they're kinda right. Circles take time to form, but incantations are as fast as you can shout them, and runes are self-contained power that you make beforehand. Of the three, one just isn't made for speed. I was stubborn, though. Maybe it was because my parents told me I was wasting my time. Or perhaps the daily bullying could have even been the constant reminders that my choice of magic sucked. No. I blame the fact that I'm one of the few humans here and every one of the others is just as steadfast. I guess it's in our blood. Back to circles. I had been told a lot of times that magic circles couldn't intersect. If one circle crossed another, both would collapse. That was why people cast them in waves. A wall of circles with another layer behind that, or for some just a row of the same circle they'd use to rapidly fire a spell. There was also the rule of magical flow. Put simply, if you wanted circles to work better, you had to keep their numbers low. Less circles means more power, and the further apart they were made them work slightly faster as well. No more than a dozen. That was the rule. For the longest time, I accepted this as truth. Untold centuries of wizards had tested these methods, so of course they were right. That's what I told myself every time I failed. No other spell method had such restrictions. That's why I was the odd one out. That is, until I noticed some inconsistencies. There was no difference in power based on numbers, and circles put close together worked just as quickly as space circles. Most alarming was the realization that circles had spin to them, and it was clashing spins that made circles fizzle out. I pushed the so-called laws to their limits. I created spell chains using flowing, spinning rings, compact arrays of circles with differing elements, and even circles within circles. That last one was what led me to my most terrifying discovery. Circles inside of circles, spinning in different directions of varying size and function. A missing piece of the puzzle finally slid into place. Every array of circles was designed as though it were on a sheet of paper, flat, messy, and unrefined. The workings of magic did not operate on panes of glass or tabletops. It flowed into complex shapes, pyramids, cubes, spheres, and more. Ah, spheres. It began with a circle, as all of my spells did. Then came another, slightly smaller circle just above it. I repeated this until I had a dome. I made a second and put the two domes together base first. I could have stopped there, become a powerful caster with that alone, and earned a life of fame and recognition. The key to do so was now levitating before me, no bigger than an apple. But the resentment I harbored darkened my mind. What if the naysayers thought it a trick, or worse, had something stronger? I felt repulsed at the idea of being mocked ever again. Another sphere, this one larger. I put the original within and saw the potential supernova in my grasp. So it went that I made more layers. Every other layer went in an opposing direction, at a different angle, at a greater speed. By the time I had regained my wits, an orb of light as big around as myself hovered before me. The mana this globe drew in was enormous, like a whirlpool of immeasurable thirst. Immaculate and oh so terrible it was to behold. The professors arrived as I stood before my creation, dumbfounded by its glory. They were afraid. They were right to be, as even I had no way of knowing what this thing would do. "Dispel that at once," they had barked. "You'll kill us all," was one of their cries. Even if I had tried, I knew that was not an option. This was beyond my control. Well, that was my thought at first. After a moment, I came to realize that my spell was merely drawing in power with no way of releasing it. In essence, it was a bomb that would keep charging until it hit a cascading point. I had made it, so I knew what its layers were made for, and there wasn't a caster alive that could block every element. My course of action was simple. Squeeze the circles until they overlap. Alternate currents cancel each other out, and if the rings collapse, the spell loses shape and becomes loose mana again. I began to shrink the rings so they would connect at the center first and knew my folly immediately. Too much mana can cause a sickness to form in living creatures. My whirlwind of spell circles was capable of killing thousands with how much power it had drawn in, and the first 2 layers, the smallest of all, had released enough mana to knock me from my feet. The damage was more than I could imagine. My skin had begun to wither across my body. My muscles became weak and the joints had lost their flexibility. It was as though I had aged 70 years in a second. I knew another blast would be enough to kill me outright, so I changed my approach. In my mind, I drew many mana-collecting circles and a set of barrier circles. Each was made to spin opposing directions in a double-layered ball to enclose the orb. Once that was done, another barrier was placed around the bomb and myself, ensuring no more magic would fuel it. In hindsight, that should have been my first priority. Once again, I pushed the inner circles to cancel each other out, though this time the barrier held and I was spared the poisonous miasma of magic. The next layer, then the next, and so forth until only the last 2 remained. I accepted my fate. I looked to the professors outside of my barrier. I could not hear them, but I saw the looks of terror and defeat. They would call this an attack on the college, and my name would forever be cursed and hated. This was a truth I knew I had no say in, yet I wouldn't disagree if I were them. With a deep breath, I forced the last 2 layers of the sphere to compress to the smallest size they could be. Slowly, the room-filling orb of chaotic energy shrank smaller. As it did, the glow of the circles grew more powerful until the light was blinding. Then in a flash, more brilliant than the sun, the circles vanished, leaving behind a ball of pure yellow crystal. My consciousness faded the moment it hit the floor. You can imagine my surprise when I awoke in the royal healer's chamber, a place that was over 1,000 miles away and under the strongest of anti-magic protection. I met with the king, his trio of elder mages, and some of the greatest archmages the world had ever known. This is the gist of what they told me. Congratulations. You are the first person to ever think of making circle magic do that. Psych! What you did has been done before, but it has almost always led to the mage in question dying or going insane. You're the 4th person to live and keep their sanity. These elder mages are the ones who had done it before you, and they're all super powerful. The reason we don't let people make magic circles like that is because it always goes rampant. We've been intentionally trying to snuff out circle magic for a while now. Only those trusted with the art should have world-ending powers. You aren't one of them, but we see potential in you. Now, you serve the king. Finish college, go kill a dragon, and find yourself a spouse. Should be easy for someone of your talents. Oh, and we have no idea what you made from all that mana, but it's yours. Those were your circles, so all that mana you compacted into solid matter will only respond to you. It also pulled all the toxic mana out of your blood. Don't worry, it won't explode, but it is giving off a lot of magic at a fixed rate, so use it as a magic focus or something. Don't worry about money, you'll be covered until you graduate. There's the door, bye. All things considered, they were quite forgiving. I'm now part of the secret wizard club. The king has my back. My family is well taken care of, and nobody treats me badly. The only downside is that there's this nagging feeling like someone is in my head, reading my thoughts as though they're words on a page. Not that I mind. The answer to my question is 40. That's how many magic circles you can keep in a stable sphere. Don't do it yourself, or you might blow up a small country. Oh, you're going now? Alrighty, bye.